everyone, welcome back. I'm Melissa Pineda, and today I will be discussing the book French Women Don't Get Fat by Mireille Guiliano. So Mireille was born in France in 1946, and she was the CEO of Veuve Clicquot in the United States. She lived in New York, she married an American. Anyway, I'll get into her story in a minute. But before I start, if there's anything today that you find interesting or that you like, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, why listen to my review of this book? Well, because in under 10 minutes, I will tell you everything you need to know about this book. But the title caught my eye and, well, had a Belgian grandmother. And I thought, I don't know, made me think of her because she would make comments about French women and Belgians and how European women in general just knew how to eat a certain way. They didn't have to work out. They didn't have to diet. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna check it out and see what I think of this book. And it was just like a really fun read. I didn't know, very, very enjoyable. And it's interesting, it's funny, but there's something to be said for European women and especially French women in terms of their stature, their class, their physique. They tend, according to Mireille, they tend not to diet, they tend not to work out, they don't go to the gym, and they don't skip meals. So how do they do it? That's something I will tell you in my review. Okay, so let's begin. So Mireille Guiliano, as I mentioned, grew up in France, and she did an exchange in the US in her teens for a year, and she gained in, I think, about 20 pounds, maybe more. She just talked about, you know, what you already know I'm going to say, the fast food, the conveniences, the high sugar content, the large portions. So she went back home to France, and she basically got made fun of by her family, and she had to figure out a way to shed the pounds, but the French way. Now, she did have to not skip meals, but avoid certain things, which she also claims French women don't actually do. They don't avoid things that they are, you know, quote unquote addicted to, you know, or whatever their weaknesses are, like chocolate or bread. She said French women do not avoid that stuff. In her case, in her teens, she had to. But she only had to avoid it while she was trying to lose the extra weight she had gained while in the United States. Then it was, you know, back to her usual self and usual French way of eating. So what is the secret? What do French women do? Why don't they get fat? You should not feel any guilt over what you eat. She said, she's spoken to many women, non-French women, that have said things like, you know, they feel shame about eating certain things, or they avoid it completely, or they, you know, wait until no one's looking and then shove some chocolate in their mouths. And she said there should be no guilt when it comes to eating, only pleasure. French women think about what they're going to eat and not what they're going to avoid, like American women. So she makes a lot of comments about French women in contrast to American women, but only because that's where she lives. Those are mostly her friends, her acquaintances at this point, but then she also knows the French way of living and French women very, very well. So Mireille talks about how we all have our individual weaknesses, whether it's bread, whether it's chocolate, whatever it is. But she said, here are the main problems. It's not like whatever your weakness is. The main problems are high-calorie drinks, large portions, tasteless food, so you need more in order to satiate your appetite. Or you add things to it, right? You add dressings, you add sauces, you add extra cheese, more salt, all that stuff that she says good food doesn't need. Like a pinch of salt, some seasoning, but like you shouldn't be putting anything excessively. You shouldn't have to when it comes to good food. You have to pay attention to what you're eating. Don't eat while standing. Savor every bite. Don't rush. You should chew. Always chew. Take your time. She suggests, and I really like this and found this is something I'm going to start doing, buy in season. I'm a sucker for buying the same vegetables, fruits that I just like or that my kids like. But she's saying, like, don't do that because you're going to notice a difference in flavor, a difference in taste. Like if you buy a plum, for instance, that's out of season, that's been imported from another country, it's not going to taste the way a plum should actually taste. She says buy in season. Figure out wherever you are in the world what is in season. Try, to go to local markets if you can't. Grocery store will tell you as well, like you'll be able to see what's local, what's not, usually based on price, right? What's imported is going to cost more. So she said, buy local, buy what's in season. You need to also train your palate. This is a good one. I'm sure you can relate as I can that, if you get into a habit, say around the holidays, you eat, 3 successive days of eating cake. You've trained your palate to anticipate the sweets, right? And you need to kind of dial that back. You need to train your palate to enjoy foods that are not as sweet, or not as often and in not as large amounts as you would have before, for instance, or you have been doing if that is something that you do. She talks about how American desserts are unnecessarily sweet. She talks about drinking more water and then drinking more water on top of that. It's very important. If you don't like water, which honestly might sound crazy to some people, but I don't enjoy drinking water unless I'm really hot or I finished working out or something. But otherwise, I don't enjoy drinking it just throughout the day. But she suggests a tip, which I have been doing for a while too. Put some lemon in it, squeeze some fresh lime or lemon, orange, whatever. And she emphasizes, don't diet, because diets tend to be not sustainable. It's something that'll work for a bit, and then when you stop doing it, the weight's just gonna come back on. In this book, Mireille also provides a lot of French recipes, a lot of kind of ways to play around with your food that you wouldn't necessarily think of initially. And it reminded me a lot of my grandmother's recipes and cooking. They do a lot with fruit, a lot with baking pears or making a compote, really delicious things. She gives chicken recipes and fish recipes, and she talks about the things you should eat more of, the things you should eat less of, but definitely don't avoid. She just kind of tells you what you could improve on. So if you like bread, great, but there's a type of bread that's better for you than another type of bread, for instance. She talks about, Belgian chocolates, for instance, over American chocolates. So she, like I said, does a lot of comparing, but for good reason. And she offers a lot of helpful suggestions and tips on how to eat better without compromising, food with more flavor, without having to feel like you're giving up anything in the process. You should just really enjoy what you're eating. She talks about ways to, avoid the gym if you don't like working out, because French women don't work out. But she walks a lot. French women tend to walk a lot. So, you should do that. Walk a lot. Drink a lot of water. So she offers a lot of great information, mostly for women, but she says that men can benefit from it too. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Really interesting book. The link is in my description. So if you'd like to pick up a copy of it yourself, that's where you can find it. I suggest you do. And if there's anything today you heard that you found interesting or that you liked, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, thanks for listening.